This morning, after Diane Keaton's death shocked Hollywood, the cause of death for the legendary actress is coming to light. In a statement shared exclusively with People, Keaton's family revealing that the star, who was 79 years old, passed away from pneumonia.
Just days after Diane Keaton died, a shocking family battle erupted. Her two adopted children, Dexter and Duke, rushed to their lawyer's office, eager to claim their share of her massive estate. Soon after, Diane's biological sisters also stepped forward, demanding a piece of the inheritance. What should have been a time of mourning quickly turned into tension, suspicion, and a messy fight over money. Diane's death was officially listed as pneumonia, but the timing and circumstances raised questions. In her last weeks, she had lost weight rapidly, looked frail, and coughed constantly. Even the 911 call came later than expected, making some wonder if something had been hidden. She had once told her friends, "I've never loved anyone more than my children." But now, as her children and sisters fought over her $100 million fortune, people couldn't help asking, was her love truly returned? Or had it only opened the door to greed? The mysterious death of Diane Keaton. In her final months, Diane had made several unusual choices. She stopped appearing in public, sold her favorite home in Beverly Hills, and stopped talking to her close friends. People started to suspect she was being isolated or pressured. Everything started to unravel after October 11th, 2025, the day Diane Keaton, one of America's most respected actresses, was found unresponsive at her Santa Monica home. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital, but she didn't make it. She was 79 years old. Her family said the cause was bacterial pneumonia, but fans and friends thought there was more to the story.
Keaton's career spanned some 100 film and television roles, including iconic performances in The Godfather and Annie Hall. She won an Oscar for Best Actress for her portrayal of the irrepressible titled character Annie in the 1977 movie.
Months before her death, Diane had quietly stepped out of the spotlight. She no longer attended events or walked her dog Reggie through Los Angeles. Friends noticed she looked thinner and quieter after early 2025, around the time she moved from her Beverly Hills home because of wildfires. She had relocated to Palm Springs for peace, but that move seemed to mark the start of her decline. Why would someone so full of life suddenly disappear like that? Was she hiding another illness? Doctors explained pneumonia could be fatal for older people, but her sudden weight loss and weakness made friends question if that was the real cause. Diane had dealt with health issues before.
Days after her shocking death, Diane Keaton's family is opening up about what happened, sharing with People the 79-year-old Hollywood icon died from pneumonia.
She had skin cancer in her 20s and underwent surgeries years later. She also opened up about her struggles with bulimia, which she overcame through therapy. Still, none of these conditions were related to her lungs, which made her sudden death seem even stranger. Another surprising event was the sale of her Beverly Hills home, the one she once called her forever house. She had spent years restoring it and even featured it in her design book, The House That Pinterest Built. Fans were shocked when she suddenly sold it in early 2025. Some thought she sold it because of her health. Others suspected financial pressure or family influence. The truth was unclear, but the silence from her family only added to the rumors. When Diane passed away, her cremation was arranged almost immediately, and her family refused to answer any questions. That quick response only deepened the mystery. But the biggest shock came when her two adopted children arrived at the lawyer's office just days after her death, ready to discuss her will. A family divided. To understand how things reached that point, we need to go back. In her 50s, at the height of her acting career, Diane decided to become a single mother. She adopted her daughter Dexter in 1996 and her son Duke in 2001. She raised them on her own in Beverly Hills, keeping their lives private and normal. She took them to school herself, cooked their meals, and made sure they were far from Hollywood's spotlight. For years, everything seemed peaceful. But after Diane's passing, that calm disappeared fast. While fans mourned, Dexter and Duke began discussing her will. Dexter, now an interior designer, believed she should inherit the most, especially the Brentwood home she helped restore with her mother. She said the house symbolized their bond. Duke, a tech entrepreneur, disagreed. He said Diane had promised to help fund his business dreams and wanted him to carry on her legacy. He demanded a bigger share of the money and royalties from her books and films like Something's Gotta Give and Then Again. Both felt their claims were justified, but their disagreements turned bitter quickly. Diane's will, originally written in 2015 and updated in March 2025, named both Dexter and Duke as heirs. But it didn't clearly say how things should be divided. Some said Diane planned for Dexter to get the houses and Duke to receive cash and investments. Without clear directions, both siblings began arguing over their interpretations. Rumors added more tension. It was said that Diane had planned to donate part of her fortune to the LA Conservancy, an organization protecting historic buildings. Dexter strongly opposed this idea, saying her mother wanted the homes to stay in the family. Duke believed otherwise and accused Dexter of caring more about money than legacy. Their arguments got personal. Dexter hired her own lawyer, accusing Duke of trying to change their mother's will while she was unwell. Duke accused Dexter of hiding estate details and blocking access to important files. Their meetings were filled with shouting and anger. Then Diane's biological sisters, Dory and Robin Hall, stepped in. Dory claimed Diane had promised her some financial support in old age. Robin wanted a portion of book royalties since she was part of Diane's life story, and even mentioned in her memoir, Brother and Sister. Soon, everyone was involved. Dory and Robin argued that as Diane's blood relatives, they deserved a share too. But Duke refused, saying the trust made it clear Diane's adopted children were her only heirs. Dexter, already angry, accused her aunts of chasing money. Robin tried to talk things out and even asked for a family meeting, but Dexter refused, saying, "Mom chose us, not them." Duke sided with her temporarily, but that peace didn't last long. The siblings kept fighting with each other over control of the estate. Meetings with lawyers dragged on for hours, ending in frustration every time. Witnesses claimed that during one meeting, Dory and Robin nearly got into a physical fight with Duke before being stopped. Friends of Diane, including Jane Fonda, were deeply saddened. They said Diane had loved her family more than anything, and seeing them torn apart over her legacy was heartbreaking. By the end of 2025, Diane Keaton's $100 million estate, earned through decades of acting, writing, and real estate, had turned into the center of a painful family war. Diane had always been admired for her talent and her passion for restoring old homes. She had renovated and sold several properties across California, building a real estate portfolio worth over $50 million. Her designs were loved by stars like Ryan Murphy and Madonna, who even bought some of her houses. But after her passing, all of that, her career, creativity, and legacy, was overshadowed by one lingering question. Was Diane Keaton's death really natural, or was there something more behind it? Hidden truths behind Diane's final days. As Diane's family fought over her enormous fortune, fans couldn't shake a growing suspicion. Maybe her death wasn't as simple as the pneumonia listed on her death certificate. Too many details didn't add up. In the last few months of her life, Diane completely withdrew from the world. She wasn't seen out walking her dog, no social media posts, no public appearances. She had canceled all upcoming events, telling people she wanted rest and privacy. Friends said she moved to Palm Springs after selling her Beverly Hills home, choosing a quiet, isolated life with her two adopted children, Dexter and Duke. But that silence seemed strange. For someone who had always been so lively, cheerful, and full of creative energy, the sudden retreat felt unnatural. Could it be that she was being kept away from her friends and the public? people began to wonder if her children had more control over her life than anyone realized. Her death was announced late, several days after it happened. The public only learned about it when her death certificate surfaced on October 16, 2025. According to reports, a 911 call had been made on the morning of October 11th, saying Diane had collapsed at home, but the timeline seemed off. Why did it take so long for anyone to call for help? Sources close to the family revealed that Diane had been visibly weak for weeks. She had lost a dramatic amount of weight, coughed endlessly, and often looked tired. These were clear warning signs. Yet, strangely, there were no medical records showing she had visited a doctor during that time. Had her children ignored her condition? Or worse, had they kept her from getting the medical care she needed? Doctors explained that pneumonia can be deadly in older people, but it usually doesn't come out of nowhere. It builds up slowly, with symptoms that anyone living nearby could easily notice. Diane had both her children living with her, so how did her condition get that bad without intervention? Some fans started forming theories online. They suggested that Dexter and Duke might have intentionally neglected her care to gain quicker access to her trust. It sounded far-fetched at first, but when people started connecting the dots, the isolation, the fast home sale, the late emergency call, it didn't seem impossible. Even medical experts raised eyebrows. They pointed out that pneumonia can sometimes develop due to weakened immunity, poor nutrition, or exposure to bacteria in closed environments. If Diane had been living in poor conditions, not eating properly, or not receiving the right medicine, her body could have easily deteriorated. A close friend told reporters that Diane had been losing a lot of weight before her death and didn't seem properly looked after. That same friend said Diane often mentioned feeling tired and foggy, but dismissed it as aging. Meanwhile, as the inheritance war grew, fans couldn't ignore the timing. Diane's sudden home sale earlier that year, right as her health declined, started to look suspicious. Had she sold it willingly, or was she pressured by her children to liquidate her assets before her death? Another area of concern was Diane's mental state. For decades, she had spoken openly about her struggle with bulimia and her ongoing battle with self-esteem. She once called herself a lifelong, recovering addict, saying she always had to fight to stay balanced. Could her children have taken advantage of that vulnerability as she aged, using her trust to control her decisions? Friends who tried to contact her in her final months said calls went unanswered. Some even said they were told she's resting whenever they reached out. It was as though she had vanished into her own home, cut off from everyone except Dexter and Duke. If that's true, then her death might not have been the result of sudden illness at all, but rather a slow process of isolation and neglect. The chilling possibility. As investigators and the public pieced together the puzzle, a chilling theory began to take shape. What if Diane's two children had planned everything? Think about it. Both Dexter and Duke were adults now, living under the same roof as their aging mother. They had complete access to her daily life, her meals, her medicine, her environment, even her finances. If they wanted control, they didn't need to do anything dramatic. All they had to do was stop giving her the care she needed. Some Reddit threads and online discussions went viral, claiming that the children had slowly weakened their mother through neglect. They supposedly restricted her contact with friends, controlled her diet, and kept her dependent on them. By managing her food and medicine poorly, they may have made her body fragile enough for an infection like pneumonia to take hold. The most disturbing part of this theory is that it fits the timeline perfectly. By May 2025, Diane had already withdrawn from the public eye. By July, she had sold her Beverly Hills home, her pride and joy. After moving to Palm Springs, she was seen only once or twice in public. By September, she was reportedly too weak to walk for long. A month later, she was gone. And right after her death, her children wasted no time. They went straight to the lawyers. The entire process looked rehearsed, Dexter claimed the houses. Duke claimed the cash. The biological sisters were pushed aside. Every asset, every document was handled with precision, as though they already knew what to do. Could that really be coincidence? Medical experts reviewing the public details said that while bacterial pneumonia can indeed be fatal, the symptoms usually worsen over time. If Diane had received even basic treatment early on, it could have been easily managed. The fact that she didn't, and that her condition was allowed to deteriorate until it was too late, raised serious questions. It's also worth remembering that Diane had always been an active woman. She ate carefully, exercised, and walked daily. For her health to collapse that fast meant something drastic must have changed in her routine. Some friends believed that Dexter and Duke might have unintentionally caused harm, perhaps by ignoring her symptoms or mishandling medication. Others, however, suspected a deliberate plan. The possible motive? Money and control. Dexter had deep emotional ties to Diane's real estate projects. She saw herself as the heir to her mother's design legacy. Duke, meanwhile, was ambitious and business-driven. He needed cash to fuel his growing tech ventures. Both had much to gain, and neither wanted to compromise. In a twisted way, their goals aligned perfectly, for Diane to pass before she could make any last-minute changes to her trust. By late 2025, fans were convinced the situation wasn't just a family feud, it was something darker. People started calling it the perfect family crime. After her death, every piece of Diane's estate seemed to fall smoothly into place for her children. Her assets, from the Brentwood home to film royalties and shares, were locked down. Her sisters, Dory and Robin, were left with almost nothing. The two aunts tried to challenge the will, but Dexter and Duke's lawyers countered every claim, arguing that Diane had been clear about her wishes. The legal process was airtight. Every move had been anticipated. It was as if Diane had unknowingly helped build her own trap. If the online theories are true, then this might be one of the most tragic betrayals imaginable. A mother who dedicated her life to her children, only to be manipulated in her final days. Let's not forget, Diane chose motherhood later in life out of pure love. At 50, she adopted her daughter Dexter, and at 55, she adopted her son Duke. She poured her heart into raising them, determined to give them a normal life away from Hollywood's chaos. She once said motherhood humbled her and gave her a sense of purpose she had never felt before. To think that the same love could have been used against her is heartbreaking. The worst part is, there's no solid proof, just unanswered questions. No medical evidence of wrongdoing, no criminal investigation, no confession. Everything remains speculation. Yet every small detail, the isolation, the rushed estate process, the secrecy, seems too perfect to ignore. Fans still debate about what really happened. Some believe Dexter and Duke simply made mistakes under stress, failing to recognize how sick their mother was. Others are convinced they carefully planned everything, using illness as a cover to secure their inheritance. Either way, one thing is certain. Diane's death left more questions than answers. As the legal battle continues, her two adopted children remain at the center of attention, fighting each other, fighting their aunts, and fighting to prove who truly deserves her legacy. Meanwhile, the world continues to mourn the woman who once said she loved her children more than anything, wondering if that love was ever returned. In the end, what's left is a haunting silence, a story of fame, love, family, and the blurred lines between devotion and greed. And maybe that's why people can't stop talking about it. Because deep down, everyone wonders how something so tragic could happen behind the closed doors of one of Hollywood's most beloved icons. Even now, the fight over Diane Keaton's $100 million fortune isn't finished. Dexter and Duke continue to face legal negotiations, splitting everything from real estate and royalties to investment shares and charity donations. Dory and Robin, her biological sisters, still insist they deserve part of the inheritance for standing by her during her lifetime. The question remains, who will truly inherit Diane's legacy? Will the law side with the adopted children who lived with her for decades, or will her biological family manage to claim a portion of what she left behind? For fans and followers, this story has become a heartbreaking reminder that wealth and love don't always coexist peacefully. Behind the glamorous world of Hollywood lies a truth few want to face, that even the closest families can fall apart when money enters the picture. Diane Keaton's passing, her mysterious final months, and the chaos that followed have all left one lasting question. Was this the quiet death of an aging actress, or the hidden tragedy of a mother betrayed by those she trusted most? Only time, and perhaps the courts, will tell. And as her fans wait for answers, one thing is certain. Diane Keaton's story, both on-screen and off, will never be forgotten. Enjoyed this deep dive into Diane Keaton's life and the shocking events after her passing? Make sure to like this video and share it so more people can follow the story and stay updated on every twist.